if you've just joined us, this is The Press. We're reaching you live from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now, phone lines are open. You can call in to make your contributions or ask your questions. Our guest, our analyst on the show today is Wale Oloko. He is a policy analyst. It's good to have you on the show today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm happy to be here.
Happy to see you again this year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah.
I hope you actually had a very wonderful holiday.
Sure, I did.
Great.
No complaints. Yeah.
All right, now since we are back to fuel scarcity and the fuel queues, just when you thought that last holidays the fuel queues would have been over, and then the issue with fuel scarcity, but then it is still lingering. I saw one particular headline that says some people buy fuel. Okay, that's on Nigerian Tribune. Say the big headline there says petrol sells as high as 350 naira per liter. Motorists and commuters ground. And then some weeks ago I saw a particular headline coming from the petroleum chief, that's Chief Melikiari, saying that he doesn't mind buying fuel for 400 naira per liter if he leaves office. So what is that, how does this actually resonate with you?
Well, let's take the last aspect you mentioned, the NNPC MD, that he doesn't mind. In any case, don't forget that his pension is more than the annual salary of an average director in any interior ministry and any internal ministry, So he can afford to buy even at 800 naira. It doesn't really matter, because NNPC will still continue to supply him fuel, and so it's just we should not rely on that. So the serious issue of fuel scarcity is like Nigerians will say, not today. And the bottom line is, we may have enough so-called petrol on the high seas, but on the ground, onshore, we don't really have enough, and that's what the major marketers have been talking about. You can't expect a mothership to be almost 40 kilometers away, and then you now say that we should hire all these small barges to go and evacuate petrol from the motherships. They are supposed to pay in dollars, and it's going to cost them a lot of money. So it's difficult for them to do that, and that's one aspect. Okay. From my own experience, we discover that even in Lagos, if you want fuel at the so-called government-regulated price, then it may take you almost 24 hours to get your turn.
I quite agree with that one. Let's quickly go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll definitely continue with that conversation. We'll see you shortly. Welcome back. We're sorry for that technical glitch. We had to fix do some technical fixing and rejigging, but we're right back. All right, so before we went on that break, you were actually talking about the fuel scarcity and why you have it in one end, and then at the other end it is a different kettle of fish entirely.
No, I mean, we should not be surprised out there, because at least I just returned from Lagos, and I realized that even in Lagos you find two markets, the regulated market and then the unregulated one. So if you really want to pay 250 and above, there are filling stations open that you can easily drive in and get fuel at that rate. But if you insist and you have the time, but you say time is money, and if you want to be on the queue for 24 hours, then you can just try your luck and then see wherever you find NNPC filling stations, and then you can now queue. So that's the situation now.
So is it just in Lagos that you have that?
Okay, I really love Lagos. I don't know what the situation is like in Abuja, because I came in and then I still have some fuel, so I have no problem. But I realized that there have been queues all over the place as well. And then the so-called black market is thriving. And instead of the so-called 3,000 that they used to offer in November last year, for 10 liters, now they're saying 4,000, 4,005. So which means for 10 liters, we are talking about almost 450 naira per liter. So that's something strange. But let's see how it goes. But the bottom line is that whether we like it or not, whoever wins the presidency will have a big challenge. The challenge of whether or not you should maintain what you have or allow the people to continue to suffer. It may sound as a conspiracy theory, but I tend to sense a situation where this thing is perhaps deliberate, that when it gets to a point where people will now start asking, they'll be begging that we are ready to pay for whatever is ready in the amount. So I think we are getting to that extent.
Oh, wow.
That the people that will now ask that you pay. And then when people, yes, it's right that when you are importing petrol, you need to add taxes, surcharges, insurance, freight, and all that is to actually increase the rate at the landing cost. But whatever you are able to get from so-called Dangote now, eventually it will make a difference that the price will come down. But I doubt it. And that's why I keep telling people that Dangote Industries is located, a refinery, is located in export processing zone, free trade zone, and then the man is free to export. And whenever it's getting petrol into Nigeria, it's like importing. But then the excuse is that, okay, NNPC is likely to sell. And NNPC has actually signed an agreement that they will sell the crude to Dangote refinery in Naira, which I doubt very much. And then we are going to now, at one stage, lose dollars, and we are trying to say, okay, because we want to bring down the price of fuel, then resources and revenue go to government. We also do it. So it's like head you lose, tail you lose, and that's the situation we're going to be facing for the next few months.
All right, let's quickly take this call before we continue on that one. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Okay, we need you to speak out so we can hear you. All right. If you call, please speak out so we can hear you, and please turn down the volume of your TV set or move away from it. All right, so yeah, I think yesterday I also saw a particular headline. I think it was also Nigerian Tribune that says, coming from marketers, they said by the time they decide to remove fuel subsidy, we might have to be paying 800 naira per liter. So do you in any way see the next president coming? Yes, I hear you say that he has a lot of work to do with regards to fuel subsidy, with regards to petrol, but then they keep coming up with the campaigns, and then all the campaign promises that they will turn things around. Is it ever possible? Would anyone ever come with a magic wand that will turn things around like at the whip of a finger?
No. What is going to happen? We are not going to get to the situation where Nigerians will pay 800 naira for petrol. Let's be honest.
So does that actually look like a threat?
No, that's
from
more
marketers?
like a threat. That's like a threat. Don't take that for it. Even if for now diesel is deregulated, average fuel is deregulated, and what they are paying is around 720 to 740. So it's not 800 naira. It was about 900 sometimes in July, August last year, but it's gone down. But this is different because you are now likely, from all indications, it's just the promise that we are not sure of. That's why you have the deficit in trust. Government, people really do not want to trust the government any longer. And that is the problem when you keep making promises. Imagine the president said last year that by December 2022, all the so-called security issues will have been eliminated. Police IG, once is appointed, he will now say by the end of so and so. No, people don't really want to hear that, and they're tired of doing that. It's not the same thing with this, that when Dangote refinery comes on stream, then the price will go down. No, that's not the issue. The bottom line is that I want to believe that when you have someone that is sincere, you are likely to lose revenue in some areas. But the bottom line is we are producing enough crude for now, for enough to satisfy our domestic consumption. But the problem is that we are exporting. And when you are exporting, you are not bringing back. That is the problem. And somebody can handle that. Somebody can easily handle that. And luckily, from what they are saying, that Port Harcourt refinery is likely to come on stream first quarter this year. Dangote refinery is likely to come, and we are talking about 650,000 barrels. So let us just give that benefit of the doubt that it is possible that the new president will come and he will just by chance and luck. Sometimes it happens like that, and this will just fall into his laps, and then things will happen, and you think it's magic. But luck and dedication and perhaps removal of some charges, maybe at the ports, and so on and so forth. That will really assist. Maybe that will be
how about removal of fuel subsidy? Since this government has done they've already made their final decision, they're hell bent on.
No, but the fact you're saying that you are removing fuel subsidy, then that is when you are talking about 400, 500. That is the removal. But as of today, are you really saying we're having subsidy? That is the issue. If 10 liters is being sold for 4,500 in Abuja, is somebody not paying for that? Is it not going to somebody's account? Is it not going to somebody's pocket? So that is the argument, and that's a lot of confusion. And it's when you have this kind of confusion in place that you get to a point where that people will now start begging. People will start begging. You can imagine what it means. That all that we are asking for, we are ready to pay.
Want.
And it was like a blackmail, you know. That you are the one that will beg for it, you are the one that will ask for it. But let us just allow, because the government is just 5 months to leave. Let us just, maybe somehow along the line, the new phase will bring a new attitude and new regime, and then we'll have a new economic this in place, economic policies in place.
All right, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm calling from Oloko, Benue State.
All right, Collins from Otoko, Benue State. How is Otoko today?
We are fine with all the whole dust that the government, this government has just brought to us, bad road and everything, scarcity, where we are 5 where here, 310, 320 at most. You see, I want to comment on the first issue that the people were analyzing.
Okay, go ahead.
This is the first time since the inception of democracy that the government is taking the entire masses of the nation for granted. Like for instance, I happen to hear as of last year that there are so many modular refineries that have been demolished and brought down to nothing. You know, when all these things were in existence working, at least this gas of a thing that this big truck used to use, we are getting some of those things from the delta areas cheap, and it's making sense to many of us that are from this north area. And now just a tuber of yam, now if you can buy a tuber of yam in the food basket of the nation, 400-500 naira, let's talk more of maybe from that high Lagos also. I don't know how you people are feeling. This government doesn't even take anything, especially the fuel scarcity and all these things. They don't even care whether the masses are suffering. If they really wants to rule again, or they are just, making jest of themselves. Let's just be frank now. Things are not going well. And if it happens to see, even in their manifesto, I'm not seeing anything good coming out of their mouth that they are going to do this, they are going to do that. Why all this? I don't know. We are just waiting.
All right.
Since we have just at least more of the youth have gotten their PVC, we are waiting.
Have you gotten your PVC, Collins?
Yeah?
Have you gotten your PVC?
I have by long ago. I'm an agent even in my place. That place is my father's property. I know how to talk to people to vote to the right person. So now except I am taking away or possibly maybe taking that thing before the election. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm in meeting now, watching both of you.
Thank you so much.
So we know what to do.
Okay.
Awesome. You like people like you. Thank you so much. At least you have your PVC and you're going to vote and mobilize other people to vote. He was even complaining about buying yam for 500 in Benue State. I think from here, I think you can even get it for 1,200 for one small piece. But anyway, let's talk about what he said. He was talking about the modular refineries, and I remember last year you have some state governors like Governor Nyesom Wike that clamped down on quite a number of modular refineries, illegal refineries. That's the word. So, and then now he's talking about the modular refineries, how some governments have decided to clamp down on them, and then before now we've been talking about giving licenses to these modular refineries at least to help cushion this whole drama of fuel scarcity or fuel surplus. So what are your thoughts in that regard?
No, I think what let us get something clear. He mentioned something about modular refineries and so on and so forth. Yes, those so-called modular refineries, they are not actually modular refineries. They are just like somebody like setting up cooking gas. Like if you want to boil water in your house and then you want to get hot water and this thing, and then the steam, you want to now take it up and then these are some of the things. Very crude way of getting whatever is required, and then they're able to do that, get diesel. That is the AGO, automatic engine. So, but for petrol, it's going to be dangerous. They can't do that. You can imagine when you have that kind of heat coming and then you have petrol. So it's not. So it's not directly related to the scarcity we're experiencing with petrol now. But we will continue to repeat and repeat and repeat. It's just like what you have power supply. You give out licenses, just like they give out some licenses for refineries and so on and so forth. If the market is still determined by government, you will hear the Minister of State, Mr. Silva, saying that no, government has not approved the price increase, and the manufacturer, the marketers are saying no, we can't sell at this rate. So you have this kind of
discrepancies.
So if you have this kind of disconnect, whoever is holding that license will not want to come in. Because we are talking about entrepreneurs. The whole essence of capitalism is to make profit. But if you are still going to be there telling them how to sell, how much to sell
in one area,
so it doesn't make sense. So you not have people going in, and that is why the same problem we have with electricity. You can't expect someone that is ready to generate electricity, and you're saying that you have this kind of band, you have to do it, and then you have to be. No, it's never happened, and that is why people are saying Nigeria's economic situation is like voodoo. There's never any part of the world. With all due respect to our viewers, there's no how if we are viewed to some countries, there's no how you find. We are talking about movement of ship. Of barges from mother ships. That is the best way you can explain it. To now bring it to the coastline, where they will now go into the depot of these marketers. From there, you now have trailers or trucks that will bring them. From Lagos to Maiduguri, if you are going by road now, it will cost you almost 26,000 naira per person if you are going by public transport. So we're not telling somebody that take your truck from Lagos with petrol, then take it to Maiduguri, then sell at the same price as somebody that will just get from Apapa Jetty or Satellite and sell in Lagos. And you are telling them, you have what you call bridging gap. That's the old petroleum equalization fund. Does that make sense? Why must government be responsible for that? It is economy that will determine how much is going to be sold. You can't have somebody who has a petrol station in Lagos, and very funny, the same person has petrol station in
Maiduguri or Abuja.
So they will be collecting bridging costs for that one in Maiduguri and be collecting regular this in Lagos. So it doesn't make sense. How do you expect someone to not say? So, and that is the only country where you find, just like the airline, you don't pay the same rate from Lagos to London, Abuja to London. It's going to be cheaper because it's determined by distance. So when you are now saying, for the whole country, you must have a uniform price, that's when we talk about socialism. And that is when we say, everybody, you must have equal this. It's never done. But if you continue to do that, then you are going to continue to have subsidy one way or the other. As long as you have bridging cost and government is ready to pay bridging, even if you reduce, even if you say, remove this and that, you're still going to, but that's subsidy, whether you like it or not.
I quite agree with you, because I remember I'm having a conversation, I beg your pardon, one of our sister programs on The Conversation, when I had a chat with the president of IPMAN, and that's the same thing he was complaining. How do you buy a bottle of Coke? For instance, that's what he gave, the example he gave, and then said, how do you buy a bottle of Coke for 150 naira in Lagos, and then you come and buy the same bottle of Coke for 150 naira in Abuja, and then you forget that there's distance, and then there's logistics and all.
To bring this in, doesn't make sense.
I quite agree. So now let's move away from fuel, because you talked about some other things while you were talking about the fuel scarcity. You talked about the IGP's tenure. And then you also talked about President Muhammadu Buhari's assurance in December to stop insecurity. A few days ago, we saw a particular headline saying that President Muhammadu Buhari said that he has already done all that he promised with regards to fighting Boko Haram, not insecurity. Boko Haram, that he has already fulfilled his promises in that regard. So I'm going to ask you, do you agree to that scorecard? Will you say that they've ticked the right boxes? Because if you say you've fought Boko Haram, then you still have banditry, still have kidnapping, still have criminality, crime, and all of that. So would you actually say that they've ticked the right boxes? And that's one on the side. And then secondly, talking about the IGP's tenure and elongation, I think I saw it in one of the headlines talking about the IGP's tenure. Why do you always have this trajectory of government officials not wanting to leave the position until they are pulled away or like sent away or something like that?
Let us start with the president's commitment to fight insecurity. That's the way I would describe it. So the government, president and APC didn't promise Nigerians that we are not bothered about what other forms of insecurity in Nigeria, but only Boko Haram.
Oh, really?
It's more like somebody being clever by half, so to say. Insecurity is insecurity. Whether it's banditry, unknown government, kidnapping, extremism, terrorism, it's all part of insecurity. So if anybody is now saying that all that we promised in 2015, 2019 was to concentrate the fight on the elimination of Boko Haram, then good luck. But that does not mean that the people are still safe. So the challenge is, how do you expect the people to trust whoever is coming or to take over from you, whatever he tells us, whatever he says? So the person will now say, oh, okay.
Especially if they say, I'll continue from where XYZ.
So the only promise I can tell Nigerians is, I'm going to fight banditry in Northwest. So if I'm able to finish that, and then we have done our bit. So the rest are just collateral damage that as a result of our ability to be able to demolish. So that's why I said that we should not discuss that. We should just, whatever the government and the present administration says, let us just allow them to go. There's nothing we can do any longer. It's a lame duck government, and we should just, for whatever it's worth now, keep our sanity, and then let our noises and mouths, and then we should not dry our mouth because of any longer. We should just allow the government to go and allow the president to return to Daura to go and rest.
So does it actually mean that the next person coming, listen to what he says? If he says I will fight Boko Haram, ask him, well, how about banditry?
No, well, it's just like Mr. Collins said, the onus is on you, the onus is on me and the rest of the people, deciding on who you think can best address the present situation, whether the economic situation you call it, or insecurity, or climate change, or everything that you think affects you in Nigerian or daily basis. So the ball is in your court to determine who you think can best serve your needs, and that's just it. But for us to continue to shout over this one, it will cost unnecessary hypertension. And you know what that means? You need to now start consulting your doctor, medication. Thank you, Annabel. And then the medication is not even available. And now I can assure you, because I still help some of my extended family members, that even the cost of hypertension that used to be 2,000, 1,500, and that's skyrocketed, has gone up. So how do you continue to do that? So why not just keep yourself calm and then do your bit next month and wait for the outcome. The motto of my old school is work and pray. First of all, work, and then first start talking about, but don't talk about fasting and praying and everything that will solve the problem. It will not solve the problem. It's the attitude and then mental preparedness that will be able to address what is going on. And then the second part of it, the IGP channel. Sincerely, let me be honest with you. I read the Police Act of 2020, but I cannot remember now whether you can really apply that to the current situation. But what they are saying is that the tenure of the IG is for 4 years. The public service policy is that you either retire or you leave service when you clock 60 years or 35 years in service. So I think I will have to go back sincerely to check whether I think he was appointed in 2020. Was it 2020? I think he was appointed in 2020.
In late 2020.
Late 2020 or thereabout. So whether it's in, but if it is in accordance with the Police Act, perhaps we have no say per se, you know.
But how about age?
Age will not necessarily apply in this case because we are talking about statutory appointment. That once you are appointed, your appointment is for 4 years. And whether you are now clock 60 years or 35 years,
it really doesn't matter.
Not necessarily matter because you are no longer a public servant or a senior or a civil servant, so to say.
Really?
So
okay.
To that extent, maybe we can now, because we have seen cases like that. Yes, we have seen cases like that where people work beyond that 60 years while still in service, you know, but they no longer can be guided or by the rules and regulations of public service any longer. I think that is what it is. So I think that will take primacy over the public service rules and regulations, you know, and that is the way I see it. So it should not be much of a problem if that is what you have in our statute books. You know.
All right. Let's go to Daily Trust. Says old Naira notes, Nigerians fear massive losses as deadline draws near. Business owners gave June 25th deadline. And then you have food prices.
June 25th or January?
January, I beg your pardon. January 25th deadline. And then you have food prices soar as traders reject old notes. And then there's this big one that says family rejects old notes as bride price. But then you have all of this happening and the ATMs are still dispensing old Naira notes. You go to the bank, you're still having old Naira notes. And then you still have the Central Bank of Nigeria I'm not trying to manage my word. I don't want to use threaten, but they're still bringing down the throats of some banks, telling them that you must dispense the old new Naira notes. So do they actually have to wait until they're being threatened? Does it actually mean that they are holding these notes, and then you're still giving, as you're still hell bent on that deadline, saying that the old notes would give way and then for the new notes to come? What are your thoughts on all of this?
As I was coming there to the studios, I tuned to a particular radio station and then I listened to one deputy director in charge of currency in CBN Lagos branch, and then he was actually saying that the deadline is cast in stone and that they have enough Naira and that it's not true that banks are doing this and do and do that. You know, sometimes when you hold a particular position and you say certain things, I believe that I think Nigerians are getting wiser now, and to know that it is not logical for me to call him a liar, but then maybe it's not in tune. Maybe that's the way to say it. It's not in tune with what is happening. As at yesterday, some banks, at least I got old Naira notes from a particular bank. He now rolled out 2 telephone lines. And immediately I stopped. I called that line. They said, of course, it could be technical network, that the line was not in existence and so on and so forth. So the bottom line is that it is very easy for you to go on air, do interview, that we have enough Naira, we have enough G's, and then you can easily provide, you can easily do that. Sometimes you can talk, but what Nigerians need now is not talk and talk and talk. What they need is action. We will do our things, and that is why that we have a unique way of doing things, and that is what we call Nigerian exceptionalism, if I may say, because we are exceptional. In most sane climes, you can say, fine, the old note will cease to be legal tender by January 31st. But if you are still in possession of such old notes, you can take to banks will collect, but you will not be able to exchange, you will not be able to use it as legal tender.
But at some point we have that happening. I think I remember before we had the polymer, you could actually at some point you can return your money. There was no peg on the deadline.
That is what I'm saying. That the way we are doing it is as if because the guy used the word cast in stone. When you become God, I mean, when you say small g now, then you know something, there's a problem. And before you know it, you start thinking that you have the power. Because the CBN governor is seeing himself now as untouchable. And then there's a particular saying, I think it's in Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, that those whose laws have been crushed by nature should not forget to be humble. It's becoming so arrogant that he feels that everything starts and ends with him, not knowing that we have seen past CBN governors before, and then they've done better. So the bottom line is that this is what you have presently, and that is reality. You have terrors in place. You have terrors as policymakers now. So the best you can do in order not to lose money is to attempt to follow whatever they are saying. But that does not mean that they are right. But power is right. That's what they're saying. And might is right. And there's no how, let me assure you, there's no how that you as a Nigerian will not lose money. It just depends on the so-called amount. I can assure you that if you go back home after January 31st, if you go back to your pocket, if you go back to your purse, you are likely to see some 1,000 naira, 500 naira. There's no how you will not lose money. Whereas other normal sane climbs, whenever you see that kind of money, you cannot use it as legal tender any longer, but you can take it to your bank or post office or anywhere and then deposit it into your account, and that's what's supposed to be. The essence of it is to clear so-called cash that is in circulation. That is the bottom line of everything. That is what the CBN told the world,
that they had 80% cash outside banks. Then why not just collect everything if that is what you are talking about? As long as these are genuine currencies, they are not fake currencies, it has no impact. You'll be able to know the amount of currency in the river in circulation. But when you're now saying January 31st, no exchange, no deposit, no nothing, then you're now shutting down a lot of, people from making that kind of business. And I can assure you that exactly. I can assure you that the people that will suffer, that's why I'm going, that the people that suffer are not those people in these urban centers or people that will know that they cannot even remember that they have 2 million naira somewhere because they don't actually need it. The people that will suffer are those ones that are in Kauran and Moda, the one that is in Ekpe, the one that is in Ogoni land, and so on and so forth. These are real leaders that all they have is whatever they carry all over the place. And the people that they are bed, they will not even remember that they have this until maybe 5 days after January 31st. They know that they have this money. There's nobody to help them. The so-called House of Rep member, they cannot help them. That is the problem we face. And that for now, we'll continue to appeal to our people that, the best you can do is to go out there, look around, see whatever you have in your pockets, in your kono or whatever they call that small time you clean, and then they bring it out. Piggyback, and then they bring it out. That's just it. You may not necessarily be able to bring everything out. You're likely to lose some money. But I have this sense that something is likely to be, you're going to have a policy shift. Policy shift in the sense that you are not likely to use that money again, the 1,000 naira, 500 naira, and 200 naira. But the government is likely to bend a little to say, well, you can deposit into your account. Okay. That is just it, but not that it will serve as a legal tender. I think that to that extent, hopefully. I think that's something that we can do. But there is going to be controversy, especially this week, until January 31st. Yeah, it's possible that you are going to likely to have and then the queues and all. Yeah. Especially we Nigerians that like the 11th hour rush.
Hard rush, exactly.
All right,
but there's no how you will not lose money. So that's the bottom line. Everybody will lose money.
All right, let's take this last one, still on money and all. You have on the Punch newspaper says cash swap, CBN bars Abuja and Lagos POS operators. And I'm wondering, I've actually not read the whole of that story, but I'm wondering if they have to bar POS operators, how much will that affect or impact anything at all?
Well, you just mentioned it. I've not read it as well. So let's just assume that they are not supposed to collect money. And they're not supposed to give money. And
just transfers?
No. I mean, is that what they're supposed to do? But then, let's just face it. Do you think any reasonable POS agent will collect old Naira note from you now? Where will he deposit the money?
They also give old Naira notes.
That's what I'm saying. So, why must we continue to collect when the main banks are supplying them, they're not even giving them new notes? And the irony is that if you go to parties in Lagos, after I just returned from Lagos on Sunday, I was at the party on Saturday, and then people were still hawking. People were already hawking new Naira notes, and then
I saw that too.
So they were hawking just beside us, at least not one, not two, about 4 people in the hall. At least I was at 2 occasions, and then it's not occasions, And this is the kind of money that people don't have. A lot of people don't even have the currency. I've not even been able to have.
Did you actually ask someone? Sorry, I had to cut in there. Did you actually ask one of them, and then they said they're getting their money directly from CBN, not even from the bank?
Can you imagine that? So it's not definitely. It has to be from either the bank or the CBN. There's no how you can get that kind of money, that bulk, because what they're saying is that the maximum you can get is what? Is it 100,000 naira a week?
Yes.
100,000 naira a week. And then you have somebody carrying almost 500,000 in this, and then with a bag. Only God knows how much was in that bag, So it can't be from the bank because you have 4 people, which means they are carrying almost 4 million naira that occasion.
Oh, wow.
And you have other people, and you know what Lagos is on Saturday. So definitely it's not from the bank. It must be from it's definitely not from POS or any MDD or it must be either from the CBN or anything. But then let us not speculate on national TV. Let us just assume that they're able to get it wherever they got this thing. But the bottom line is, this is not this is a period at as usual. Because they say Nigerians are very resilient, they will survive. Yes, we'll survive.
God damn.
And then, like I came in and I was sneezing, I was coughing, and then I mentioned that to a neighbor of mine. He said, "Well, maybe because you are just coming," and that is what the strange thing about it. That once you are in a system, you will not know the impact, you will not know the destruction, you will not know the havoc that you are being put to. But it's when somebody is coming from either outside or from outside the place, that is when, because just from Lagos to Abuja, I now landed and now realized that so dusty, so hasty, and then I was coughing. So the person here already used to it, but the person coming, it's just like when people come from outside the country and they mention that, oh, why is this happening? Like, why are things doing like this? You think that they are foreigners, or you think that they are posing, and no, it's because you are already used to so-called suffering and smiling. And somebody coming to now observe that this thing is not the right way to do it. And that was what this man said almost 40 years ago, for life not more than 45. And then people are still suffering and they're still smiling.
Suffering, not smiling. All right. Right, our time is fast, but if you can just help us manage at this time so we can take just two headlines and then unbundle them in one breath. Daily Trust says NNPC begins training of 786,741 workers for census. So then you have people saying that elections, census, how do you like juggle these things together? So I'd like to get your reactions on that. And then on the flip side, almost all the papers says excitement as Buhari commissions $1.5 billion Lekki deep seaport. How did that story resonate with you?
Fine. I mean, that's why the advantage you get in that one is that instead of you now have these large tankers bringing petrol to Lagos, and then you now have to send this smaller ship to go and take. You can easily go to Lekki Disport, and that is why you find Pinnacle. I think Pinnacle has a depot there now that is easily pipe some of this to Pinnacle. You don't need to go to the maybe 10-20 kilometers away before you now bring the petrol to the shore. So that is a good development, and again, that is what will make Lagos perhaps the economy bigger than any other state and many countries in
even though some people are still contesting it.
You mean the economy of the
Lagos, saying that they're not. Some people say no, you can't put Lagos as the economic hub of the country. Where do you put Kano? Where do you put other states?
No, that is not argument. Now, let's face it. Let's be realistic. Without being no sentiments apart. No, you can't compare apple with orange. No, there is no comparison at all. You can't take the coast away from Lagos. And there's nowhere in the world where Atlantic, Pacific, or any ocean going vessels will not bath, because it's not everything you carry by air. So you need the coastline to be able to have ports, and you need that to generate it. So that is not, let us not waste too much time on that. There's no development anywhere. How many landlocked countries can you compare with countries with a coastline? It's not possible. There's no landlocked country in the world that is as prosperous as any country that has a coastline, and so you cannot now say any state at all will be able to do that. So that is, let us no argument about that. For the APC, well, the date has already been set, so you cannot say that okay, you now have election and then you now have census. So it's possible to combine, really. There's no big deal about that. As long as you have so-called logistics in place and the government is ready to fund the process, that shouldn't be much of a problem. The so-called 786,000 people are just temporary employees. After that, maybe enumeration and then counting and so on. So those are some of the things that.
So this is actually cheer you up. So we don't have that estimate of we have about 200 million.
But it will help us now to now determine, because when we were talking about population, I think the last population census we had was 2006 or thereabout. So I think we're supposed to have another one. And let us be able to say with confidence, to a large extent, that okay, the population is this. I want to believe that it's not impossible that you could have that kind of number, the one you mentioned, maybe 206, 207, because INEC mentioned that they've been able to register 93 million people. And 93 million people supposedly means from 18 years and above. So, and in Nigeria, they said we have over 66% of the population between 35 years and maybe babies. So it's not impossible that we will get to that. And that is the irony, the one that we just introduced now, that let the youth now walk the talk. Among the so-called 97 million people registered, or 93 or 97 million that INEC mentioned, said 67% of that should be around, how many? Maybe around 67 million or thereabout, are youths. So let us see what. And
then you have more women than the youth.
So
you have more men than youth.
More men.
The report that they gave.
What I'm saying is that if we have more youth in that segment than the elderly ones like us, then they should now come out and determine who they want to be their president, instead of making noise on Twitter and other social media platforms. What I'm saying? That this is the time now to say, okay, fine.
To put your thumb where your mouth is.
Exactly. That this is how we want the country, direction we want this country to go. Now we want to decide, we want to determine. And the women too, like you mentioned, that you have more women and so on and so forth. They should realize that they can now determine which number of people that they want in this. But then don't forget, and that is what I keep telling people, and that is my position. I'd rather be a member of a political party, which I am not, than even register. Because the political parties in Nigeria are the one dictating. It's whoever they present, whoever they give to you, that you vote for. And that is it. But if you are not a member of that political party, how will you influence the outcome of the choice, the candidate? It's whatever they give to you, that is what we take.
That's true, there are primaries and all.
Primaries and so on. So
thank you so much, Wale Oloko, policy analyst. It's always a pleasure having these talks with you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, viewers, that's where we end this segment of the show. We have been talking to Wale Oloko, who is a policy analyst. Let's go straight to social media trend. Very quickly, we'll take this story this post from Tayo Aina, who says, I queued for hours for fuel in Lagos today in an oil-producing country. Everyone has to stress and suffer to get the basic necessities. How people think of voting a failed party in again amazes me. If you are in an abusive relationship for 8 years, does it make sense to renew? That is the question he's asking. Okay, so we hope you can answer the question for yourselves. And then there's this trend that says, coming from Omotara Lawrence. And now she's asking, if you are broke but people think you have money, say hi. Hello, hi. I'm saying like 1 million highs, because sometimes you're just broke and then people just think, okay, you have plenty money. All right, the last one says, is coming from Reno Omokre. He says, give your country a break. Reno Omokre tells critics of misprinted new naira notes. So he shows us the US dollar bills and says these are actual misprinted US dollar bills. Hundreds of thousands of errors are made annually. They are highly sought after. The error increases their value. And of course, there will be misprinted naira notes. It does not mean that Nigeria is bad. Give your country a break. That's what he says. So, and then there's a particular video of cruise. Let's take that video and then we'll come to end this program.
Egigwe very well. Egigwe Ochakomaka. My color, my color because I'm so awesome. My color. Omaka Otaka. And na this ego na chashi camera go to Mauricio. No, even. Oh, lo. Opotemesa kwa miamiri Jehovah. Chineke na that means msoro white mini mamu. Jesus Christ. Msoro white mini mamu. I turn on mo wem to bala blue. Bula bla. Bra blue. The task big change right this morning because
new money and their palavers, and they were just talking about it. And then recall that when you go to the market, you go to some shopping centers, they're not ready to collect the new naira notes. But then Reno Mokri says, give your country a break. I think we need more of education and sensitization with regards to the new naira note, to tell people why you must collect the new naira note. It is legal tender, and so whatever you do, please collect the new Naira note. That's if you even see it. Anyways, that's where we end today's press. That's all the package that we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and to all those who called in to make their contributions and we're not able to pick your call. I'm so sorry, but we do not take your calls and your messages for granted. We'll definitely read them and then take your calls again tomorrow. Whatever you do, stay safe. And remember, go get your PVCs. I hate to sound like a broken record, but I will continue to sound like one if that's what you think. Go get your PVCs, and I'll see you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria.